It's time for Where You Live with Gene and Tony, the show that's all about owning, buying, selling, renting, and association management. If it involves a home, we'll talk about it. Here's your chance to get your homeowner questions answered. From the Concierge Landscape Studios, here's Gene and Tony.
Needed the shelter of someone's arms, and there you were. Needed someone to understand my ups and downs.
Good morning and welcome to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. I'm Gene Sullivan. Tony has the day off again this week. It's great to have you with us, folks. We are broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios. We're brought to you by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. Before we get into the show today, I'd like to just remind our listeners we've got some special times coming up at the Minnesota State Fair. The next two following Saturdays, we will be broadcasting live at the AM 1280 Patriot booth at our regular time at 10 a.m. But in addition, we also have been given a special time between Monday and Friday during the week of the fair at 5 p.m. for some special broadcasts of Where You Live. You're not going to want to miss that. Folks, we've got some great guests lined up. We've got some great giveaways. It's going to be a lot of fun. You'll want to see us down at the Minnesota State Fair. Best place to look for is, I guess, what's called the Home Depot booth, or maybe barn. I think it's more than a booth that they're putting up, and the Patriot booth and station will be right next door. Well, hey, let's get started with today's show with property management in the news. Property management in the news is brought to you by Pest Control Services. When you need to get rid of unwanted pests in your home or rental property, call someone who's responsive, professional, and a proud member of Angie's List. Give owner Greg Keener a call at 952-894-9748, Pest Control Services. Our first story comes from Nashville, Tennessee, from channel WSMV-TV, an NBC affiliate, with a story about a woman who is going to lose her pet because she lives in a homeowners association. And as I read the story, folks, I want you to listen and pay close attention to some of the words that are used. You know, it seems like nowadays, doesn't it, that in our discourse, anytime someone is upset, people want to go automatically to an emotional level, because what people really want to communicate isn't information or trying to get something solved. I think what people really want to communicate when they're emotional is they want to communicate how they feel. And so you're going to be able to really get that sense from this story and how it's written. It's written in such a way to really pull at your heartstrings. But there's some things that we're going to, as we go along here, clarify, because I think it's important if we're going to take a look at how a homeowners association is run. Apparently there is a woman in Nashville, Tennessee. Her name is Helen Brown. That reminds me of the old joke. You know, the woman said in introducing herself to another woman, she said, I am Helen Brown. And the woman shook her hand and said, I don't look too good in yellow either. But be that as it may, we'll go on here with the story. Helen Brown apparently has 3 dogs. And it says that she was horrified to receive a letter from her homeowners association that she would have to get rid of one of her dogs. This was especially troubling to her because her husband recently died, and she says they are all very good company. These 3 puppies, the names, I think she said, are Lady, Gremlin, and Hannah, have been with Brown at her house that she owns at the Park Place subdivision in Antioch. She said she was surprised to receive a letter from the HOA telling her that she was breaking the bylaws by having 3 dogs. The letter said that you cannot exceed a total of 2 dogs, according to the letter. The letter asked Brown to get rid of one of the dogs, or else the board would have to remove one and turn it over to the appropriate agency. Going on here, it says for keeping or disposal. I really don't know that the right word to use here is disposal. I don't think we're talking about the association putting the dog down or just tossing it away. We're just talking about the fact that the homeowner association here said you could have 2 pets. She had 3. And it goes on here to say that the notice was given to Brown, and she said she was unaware in the 10 years that she was living in the homeowner association that there were any rules to this effect. Now, Shirley Greer, who is the vice president of the homeowners association, said the board first learned about the dogs because a neighbor complained. And I guess I wanted to stop here just to say, folks, a lot of times when people receive something from their board, a lot of times they're quickly upset, thinking that this is a draconian way for the association to keep close tabs and watch over everybody so that nobody has any fun. But basically, a lot of times when an HOA is responding to someone in a letter, it's because someone else has already complained. And the board, unfortunately, here in this story said they had to look up what the rules were because they didn't even know what they were. And they discovered the 2-pet rule. The person on the board, Shirley Greer, said, I can't answer for other prior boards, she said, because it's just never been addressed. And that's really what happens a lot of times with association rules. The homeowner association doesn't allow rentals to take place, so Brown said for her to be able to leave is not an option either. And she says she is absolutely not going to get rid of any of the dogs. She said, I guess, and this is her quote, that they're going to have to call the police to come after me. They will have to break down my door to get one of my dogs because that's the only way any of them are going to leave. And again, I just wanted to emphasize here what we're talking about is someone who is very emotional. And if anybody is a pet owner, you, of course, know that you quickly become attached to your pets. And they're very important. But a couple things that come to my mind here in this story, if it was really important for someone to really care for their dog and their pet, question I have is, why wasn't there any thought given to what the association would think prior to actually getting the pet? A lot of this is put on automatically on the association board as their responsibility, as they're the ones that are kind of the evil ones here. But if you really care for animals and want to make sure they're taken care of, why didn't this person look at the rules and regulations prior to actually purchasing the pet? That's my question that I have. It says, though, in the end of this story, and I think this is a great resolution here, it says the board was going to be meeting with Ms. Brown later in the month, and they're going to work out on a resolution that would try to allow Brown to keep all of her dogs. That brings up a question. What do you think the policy should be for an association in having pets? A lot of times you'll find an association that'll be a lot more restrictive in their rules than the municipality where the association resides. And my recommendation to a board is that the best policy to have in place would be the same one as the municipality or the city where the association is found, because that way a lot of these rules that we're talking about here, instead of having to have the homeowner association be the one that plays the role of the bad guy in trying to enforce things, instead, if your rules are aligned with that of the city or municipality, you can turn things over to them, and then it becomes an issue that they deal with, one that they end up having to monitor, and you stay out of being the bad guy. So I think that would be a good thing for homeowner associations to remember. But ultimately, as we've talked about in this show many times, the issues with pets aren't the pets themselves, they are the pet owners. If you have proper rules in place, having people be a good, responsible pet owner, there should not be any issues at all. Well, hey, we got to take a break right now. Don't go away. We've got a lot more of the show. We'll be back after these messages.